It's Thursday, August 23rd of 2018. I love theme parks, but they don't always love me back. Guy's Daily Drive. And good Thursday morning on a somewhat abbreviated work week for me. Obviously went to work on Monday and Tuesday. On Wednesday, yesterday, I went to Hersheypark with my son Peter and his significant other, Liza, and we had a wonderful time. Very, very tired this morning. I ended up, according to my phone, I walked about 11,000 steps, but here's the thing. When we changed into wet water clothes, I didn't have my phone with me. So for that entire part of the day, there wasn't anything recording my steps. And we were in the water park part probably 3 hours. So I'm guessing at the very least something like at least 4,000 steps. So I did probably 15 to 17,000 steps yesterday, which is a lot more than I usually do. So my legs hurt, and got a lot more sun than I have been lately. So I'm a little sunburnt, but it was still, we had such a good time, and the day could not have started off any better. We left the house around the time that I wanted to. It was probably 5 or 10 minutes after 6, which, since I'd said 6, I'm always constantly stunned when I actually managed to get out the door around that time. So then we picked up Liza at her mom's house, and I already had a full tank of gas, so we didn't have to worry about that. And we got on the road, and we drove, and traffic was really a non-factor going around the DC area, and it wasn't that bad as we rounded around Baltimore. So, I mean, it was probably just a little bit past 8 o'clock, 8:15 or so, when we stopped just north of Baltimore off I-83 at actually, no, you know what? I got to take that back. We kept going until we got into Pennsylvania. So it was a little bit later. It was about 8:30. And we stopped at this Cracker Barrel, like our go-to, somewhere near, I want to say, Newberry, something like that. Some small town in the southern part of Pennsylvania off I-83. And we had a really big breakfast, which was probably a good idea because it meant that we weren't hungry at all until after we had changed out of our wet clothes much later in the afternoon. But we get to the park, park the car, walk our way in, and no problems. We had they had a bag and I had a bag with our clothes that we were, bathing suits and stuff like that we were eventually going to put on. Liza basically had her bathing suit on underneath her regular clothes. So, she was basically ready to go whenever it was decided that we were going to do the water part of the park. So, but we got a locker near the Hersheypark boardwalk. And as it turns out, we should have kept going a little bit because there's some lockers right by the changing rooms that would have been much more better accessed. We wouldn't have had as far to go to get our stuff and then walk to the change rooms and change and then bring our stuff back. So, but it wasn't that big a deal. As far as bad things happening goes, that's pretty low on the Richter scale. So we get to a coaster, and I don't remember what the name of it was, but the lines were almost non-existent. There were very few people that were there that early in the morning. It got crowded, not really crowded, but busier later in the day, but that entire morning was great. There was hardly anyone there. So we get all the way up to this roller coaster, and I discover that the restraint systems for this roller coaster were not made for someone who is 6'6", just on the north side of 300 pounds. Now, I've been to this park several times, but not in quite some time. And probably the last time I went, I was in the 270 to 275 range, about 25 pounds lighter than I am right now. And, for a while, anytime I've gone to theme parks, I've noticed that with the newer rides made in the last 20 years, that they sometimes will have a very complicated restraint system that makes it difficult for someone who isn't of average height and weight to use the ride. So I wasn't able to get on that coaster. And Peter and Liza, they were kind of like, well, in solidarity, they were gonna, not get on the ride too. And it's like, it's ridiculous. Why would you want to do that? You've waited for, didn't really wait because the lines weren't there, but you walked all the way up here to ride the ride. If you can ride the ride. I'm not going to get upset. I'm not going to get angry or, feel that you've betrayed me in some way or another because of, my height and which isn't my fault, and weight, which is my fault. I can't ride that ride. So go ahead and ride the ride, which they did. And, for the rest of the day when we ran into this, and unfortunately that wasn't the first time, we ran into it on about half the coasters that we wanted to do. But on none of them, fortunately, did we wait longer than 10 minutes to get all the way to the coaster. And, if you haven't waited in line for like an hour, then not being able to ride it because of the restraint system, I just kind of shrugged my shoulders and let it go. So, but we did a few coasters, and then it was starting to get warm, and we decided that we were going to go ahead and change into our swim trunks and wet clothes and go do the water part of the park, which we did and had a great time. The nice thing about most of the water rides is that there's no complicated restraint systems. You basically just lay on a mat or go down a slide or splash around in the water or whatever it is, and you're good to go. So that part was great. But basically once we first got there, first thing we all decided to do was the lazy river. which, you don't get much more complicated than that. You get into an inner tube, and you float around. I don't know why they call it a river. I mean, it's not that wide, and it goes all the way around in a circle. But they have a fake current set up with how they've got the water going all the way around. And so that was, that's always fun. So we went ahead and did that. And I remember when we got around to the other side of it, as we were, coming up to where we put in, they were looking at me like, well, do you want to get up here? And I was like, went like this. It was like, keep going one more time, because it was just so relaxing. And it was nice to, take the weight off my legs for a short period of time as we circled around again. We did that, and we did they have this like 6-tubed thing where you race, and they time you on these races. And I was definitely the fastest one down, and I think it was mostly just because I was so much bigger. And I got a 17:92, 17 seconds, .92 on my run, and nowhere near the daily or seasonal best times. I mean, I missed out on that by easily 2 seconds for the seasonal ones. Some people had runs of like mid 15 seconds, and I was talking to one of the guys that was there, and he actually held, I think, like 8th place on one of these tubes. And he was like, yeah, when we were setting up for this, I basically sprinted toward the opening of the tube. So he literally got like a running start and didn't have to worry about building up speed. He already had speed. And they don't let you do that when you're just doing the ride. So you have to just kind of wait your turn. But it was fun. I love tube raft rides and things like that. There's a great story I could tell you about some water parks I went to down in Florida when I was a kid. Maybe I'll get around to those someday. But then it was my very first water coaster. And the way this works, they've got like this 4-man, it's like a little 4-man canoe with like backs and stuff for each person. And you get in this thing, and you go up this hill. They have a pulley system that takes you up to the first hill. Then you get going, and then when you go to do, you go down the hill, and then when you're getting ready to do the upper parts, they have a series of like jet boosters on the bottom that kind of push your raft up the hill. And it's kind of cool the way it works. And that also was a lot of fun, but we ended up having to wait. It was like an hour. It was the longest time we had to wait for a ride the entire day. And I think the ride was over. I mean, when you were literally, from the time you got on it until the time you got off of it was like 3 minutes, not really, really long. And that includes going up that first hill. I mean, from the time that you kind of go over the hill and you're actually doing the ride, I don't think it was more than a minute. So, but it was a lot of fun. I just wish that it had been a little bit longer, and it's kind of cool the way that it's designed. So what else did we do? We did a few other water things. Nothing major. Got done with that, and Liza was cold, and it was around 3:00. So we were all getting really hungry, and again, it was a good time to go get something to eat because it's after the lunch rush and it's before the dinner rush. So we got out of our wet clothes and walked over to this one section that had a variety of restaurants and had some. I mean, it was okay. It was, it's theme park food, so it's not going to be anything great. It's not going to be anything bad, but it was okay. Did a few more coasters, some of which I couldn't ride. And then we went over to Hershey's Chocolate World, which is, because they actually have a factory there where they do chocolate. And I got some stuff that I'm taking into work to share with my coworkers. But it will be a good day, because tomorrow I'm off work again. This is my last day of the week. We're driving to New Jersey for the wedding. We're going to stop and see my brother and his wife for lunch tomorrow afternoon, morning. And that's pretty much it. So that was my theme park adventure. And like I said, I love roller coasters, but I don't always, the restraint systems that they use now don't always love me back. But I am doing something about my weight. I'm down to 302 from a high of probably about 320. So first goal is 280. So I still have 20 some pounds to go to get to my first goal. And maybe I'll talk about kind of what I'm doing to do this, and really what I could be doing more to help get some of the weight off. But I think that's going to do it for today, Guy's Daily Drive. If you'd like to get a hold of me, it's Guy at MyMac.com, probably. I am Mac Parrot on the Twitters. You can also find me on most Wednesday nights doing the Mac to the Future Go livecast there on the Facebooks. And what else? I do the MyMac.com podcast, of course, with Mr. Gazmaz on most weekends. Won't be doing it this weekend because I'll be in New Jersey. I guess that's about it. If you'd like to help support me and all the crazy things that I do, I have a Patreon page. Just look me up, Guy Searle or Mac Parrot. I also have a Ko-fi account, ko-fi.com. Again, Guy Searle or Mac Parrot. Easy to make one-time donations. So I really appreciate all the support that you guys have given me. Leave a comment over there in the iTunes for the audio version of Guy's Daily Drive, or comment on this on YouTube. And I believe that is everything. So thank you for watching / listening / and I will catch you next time on Guy's Daily Drive.